Good evening. Welcome to the Power of Now. I'm Coach Mitchell,
And I'm Coach Darren.
and together we are
Indeed.
coaching and consulting. Got it right tonight. Got it right tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Tonight we're going to be talking about self-reflection. Self-reflection and self-reflection, not in the sense of fleeting thoughts, but a deep introspection, deliberate, intentional, behavioral, thought-provoking reflection on our behaviors. And it goes back to our very first session on our bets, our beliefs, our emotions.
Our thoughts and stories.
Exactly. And self-reflection is just that.
Mhm.
Oh, excuse me.
It's tied into our self-awareness, and it is key for those who are serious about growth. You have to have self-reflection. You have to incorporate it.
Absolutely. It's again, it's being able to really look at your actions, your motives,
Mm-hmm.
your rationale, your reasoning,
Mm-hmm.
and be willing to change some of what your belief system is
Mm-hmm.
and adjust.
And adjust.
And adjust.
Yeah, there's one thing I like to add to uh, the qualifiers that you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most important ones is honesty.
Ooh.
Is truthfulness.
Mm-hmm.
You really have to be honest when you're doing that self-reflection, because we're so quick to point the finger uh, to someone else or to something when things aren't playing out the way that we like.
Absolutely.
Quite often we play a contributing factor. It can't always be everybody else. Mhm. And that's where the self-reflection comes in, when you're able to look at yourself and say, who was I? What did I do to contribute to the outcome?
Absolutely.
And what can I do better?
And what can I do better? But not just asking those questions, but definitely acting upon those questions to really look at how can I really change, especially if I don't like what I've done
Mm-hmm.
or how I've reacted or behaved, or even my own self-image.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be willing to really travel down that road or that path of changing who we are if we don't like who we are.
Yes. So the first part comes that we must have a desire to want to improve or change or transform. And one of the metrics to that would be something that might lead to inspiration is, what's not working in my life?
Correct.
For anyone who's really about being progressive and constantly evolving and developing new aspects of yourself, you're going to constantly need the self-reflection. And quite often, would ask anyone listening, have you ever said to yourself, when your ego jumps out in front of you, and you might say something like, "People need to accept me the way I am."
Oof.
And let me tell you something right here, right now. No, they do not.
No, they don't.
You need to accept who you are. That's how you want to live. But other folks don't have to accept who you are. That's their option. That's their choice.
Exactly. I used to work with a young lady who that was her mantra. And this can apply in the secular world. It can apply in the spiritual, in the Christian, whatever your, it's just a fact of life, right? And that was her number one statement. No matter what happened, it was, this is who I am. Accept me, for who I am presenting myself to be. But we have that choice where we can disassociate ourselves and take ourselves out of an environment that is not conducive to where we're trying to grow to.
Yes.
Right. So people don't have to accept you. They don't. It's a choice.
So,
but
go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just wanted to interject and welcome those who are watching.
Please go ahead.
Yes. Good evening, Terrell, Dr. Nicole, Tynese. Thank you guys for joining. Please go ahead, and if you have any comments, please, we want this to be engaging. We want this to be a conversation. Hi, Ray. Thanks for joining. We want this to be a conversation. Any thoughts and feedback that you may have, please join the discussion tonight. All right, Coach.
Yeah, so let's, take the topic. Let's really talk about what is self-reflection?
Mm-hmm.
What does it require? Well, pretty much it's being able to look at yourself and evaluate your thoughts and your emotions, and like I said, your behavior, or as we like to, as you mentioned earlier, which Mitchell is, we want to evaluate our bets. Now, we've spoken in previous sessions about the ego, and the ego is what will prevent us from having that honest self-reflection, because we're always going to, ego is always going to make you right. It's going to lead you to being right. And, there's a quote that says, a bad day for the ego is a good day for the soul. So you have to have the ability to come from behind your ego and really look at things as to how they played out. And did they play out for the, I'm going to say, for the betterment of the world? Now, I know that sounds huge, but that's really saying, if you got into an interaction with someone and it didn't flow right, are you able to look back and say, could I have done something different? Or are you going to say, well, I did what I did because I was right. Or at least you believed you were right. Mm-hmm. But did it really produce anything of value at the end?
Right. And you always say, Coach, do you want to win or do you want to be right?
Yep.
And a lot of times when we are in a space of, I would say, self-righteous indignation, yes, we always want to be right.
Yes.
But that's part of why we want to go into deep self-reflection.
Yes.
Because it helps us discover our behaviors, not just our beliefs, but our actions and what's really motivating us to live in a selfish space. Yes. Because that's basically where you reside when you are always right.
Yes.
And you're never willing to admit that maybe my opinion, my actions, my experience may not have been right.
Yes.
It may not have been appropriate. It may not have been the norm. Right. So I think that's important to note. Welcome, Anna. Ian, thank you for joining tonight. Please, any comments, feedback, jump in. We'd love to engage and experience your thoughts so that we can have a conversation around those as well.
Yes. So again, looking at the definition of self-reflection, like I said, it requires awareness. It was one time referred to as reflective awareness, but you really have to have a self-awareness. You have to kind of step outside yourself and look at yourself, whether it's in a situation or whether overall, excuse me, looking at things from the perspective of, I want to continue to grow and evolve.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I think if we were to put a sub bullet under self-awareness, you have to go one step further and self-evaluate, because you can be self-aware. I'm very conscious sometimes about what I'm thinking, what I'm doing, but if I'm not willing to sit and evaluate why I'm doing those things, then that's not self-reflection. That's just a thought.
Yes.
That's just a thought. So you have to be able to be willing to actually take a didactic look, just dig deeper into your behaviors and your beliefs.
Yes.
Go ahead, Coach.
Now, and we first need to recognize that we do not live in this world alone, because your ability to self-reflect is a pillar in building healthy relationships, whether that be personal or professional. When you are absent of that self-awareness or self-reflection, and you're always going into everything just from your perspective, sooner or later you're going to destroy the relationships around you. Now, again, this goes back to, do you want to be right or do you want to win? Do you want to win, the war, and are you willing to give up the battle? Sometimes, in the long run, it's better for us to be able to walk away from a situation, acquiesce. Doesn't mean that you're being weak or anything. That's also part of the awareness is, I understand the true meaning of being weak and strong.
Exactly. And I think that's where emotions come in, where, and again, our ego and our pride, being able to walk away because you're self-aware enough to know that this situation is happening in this moment, won't impact me unless I react in this moment.
Yes.
Being able to have that critical conversation to analyze that situation in the moment so that you're not only protected, but you're respected.
Yes. Yeah. Because one of the keys when you can constantly or consistently look at yourself in any situation and really replay it, assess it, and go, again, what could I have done better?
I think Terrell says it best, and she reinforces what your comment is, that self-reflection for her is about accountability in the situation.
Yes. And you want to bump that up against, and this is where I think a key component, you bump up against that was, who do I choose to be? What am I trying to become? Coach Mitchell, we always talk about all of the positive memes and the quotes that everybody's posting, but how much of it is impacting you? How many of those things that you read are you internalizing? Because all of them are geared toward what? Trying to help us become better people.
Exactly.
So now you got to back it up.
Exactly. And I think that, to your point, a lot of times people are just posting and it's superficial.
Yes.
People are posting because it's the trend, number one. Number two, it's a good thing to say. It's a good way to be perceived. But if they're not living out whatever that affirmation is, whatever that positive quote may be, again, it's not making them any better, nor is it making the person any better that's reading it, if they're not taking it and really reflecting on it. What does that really mean for me? Or is it even for me?
Right.
Is it even for me? And if you're so busy with external noise and you're not sitting with yourself, and I say that a lot, sit with yourself.
Yes.
Because when you sit with yourself, that's part of self-reflecting. If you are intentional, not just sitting and thinking a million different thoughts, but really sitting, pick a behavior, pick an emotion, pick whatever it might be, but really reflect, analyze, and not just analyze, but draw some conclusions about what you can do better the next time, or how can I improve upon an already positive attribute or characteristic. It's not just always about the negative. It's about, drawing on those strengths and, okay, what can I do to improve? Do I need to enhance the skill set? Do I need to take a class on, building relationships, whatever it might be? But sitting with yourself means to take that very critical, analytical, introspective analysis of self.
Yes. And we often lose track of that because we're in a world or a time where things just moving so fast and we're going from one thing to another and we're constantly staying busy. And we pretty much know that staying busy, we tend to equate that with being productive, but we know that that's not true. We equate staying busy with being important. That's not true. But all of the movement from one thing to another, it prevents us from having that time to ourselves. And some people avoid it.
Yeah, exactly.
You absolutely avoid having that quiet time because you don't want to have that conversation with yourself.
Right. It's intentional avoidance.
Yes. So, but if you are a true, I would say a true player in this game of life, you have to be intentional about making time to sit with yourself. And for those who believe in a higher being, be still. All right. Be still. There's a reason for those words.
Absolutely.
Because you have to make that quiet time to go deep within. Right? Because as a society, we're spending so much time outwardly. We talked about before. We're conquering space. Okay. The last frontier that we're going to conquer is within us.
Is within us. That's right. We were having a conversation the other day, Coach, about just what we mentioned a moment ago about all of the, affirmations and the motivation and the motivational posts and all of the coaches and the people that get on and they hype people up. And what came to my mind was superfluous motivation. It's in excess. Why do you need so much external motivation to get you motivated?
Well, I can tell you why.
It's rhetorical because it requires, that question requires introspection.
Yes.
Indeed.
What we need is first distinction between motivation and inspiration. We all can use a little motivation, right? We all go through those moments where we need somebody to, give us that nudge. We need to read something, hear something. But it's the inspiration, which is internal. And again, the origin of the word inspiration comes from to breathe in. It's actually an inward. It's basically something when we breathe into us, actually getting connected to the divine. It's an inward, experience that something will inspire us to move. That's what we want to go for. But the motivation does play a part. It may be the spark. It may, trigger a thought or an emotion to make you go, you know what? I never thought about that. And that may be, the trigger for your inspiration.
I totally agree with that. But you see so many people, it's something that they're constantly seeking from an external source versus tapping or looking internally. And I think that's what, caught my attention, not just yesterday, but just looking at and realizing some of the people that do some of the posting and understanding and knowing their personalities and their behaviors. Again, superfluous motivation is what came to me. And I think if you look at the Peter effect, they need 80% of somebody else championing them on versus, like you said, looking internally for that inspiration from within.
Yes. Now, this kind of back up. A lot of topics that we cover, I would really challenge people not to look at them in isolation. They're really all connected. So, you know what? Coach, once you heard me say, when you're really looking to make major change in your life, you got to go all in.
Yep.
So when we talk about getting, from behind the ego, or the other topic we talk about is who am I, which is a question that very few even think about asking. When we talk about the transcendental emotions, like all this comes together. But like I said, if you're going to be a real player in this game called life, these are the things that you're going to have to address. Otherwise, you're going to be moved along the waves, just like a twig. You know, you have to come with a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely.
And it's not ego either. It's not ego driven.
Exactly. It's, we're making quite a few references to scripture tonight. It's like you have to be planted, rooted and grounded, like the palm tree, that no matter how hard the wind blows, it's going to bend, but it's not going to break. And if you're not, if you don't have a strong countenance, a constitution, you're gonna blow every which way the wind blows, to and fro, right? To and fro. And I think that a lot of times people look to other weak people to give them strength, and two negative ions don't connect. They don't match, they don't mesh, they'll never sync up. They'll always be, trying to find each other, but they'll never be able to help each other along in any way. And what people really need are coaches or mentors, someone that will help guide them.
Yes. And just for anybody out there, again, who might remember the algebra, all right? They might want to challenge us on the whole two negatives, all right? Now, a negative plus a negative is just a bigger negative, all right? All right, we're well aware of that.
We are.
Negative times a negative is a positive.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be another negative person, you guys are going to be multiplying something, all right? I just want to jump in and acknowledge Tanis's input there. She said journaling really helped her with self-reflection. Yes, absolutely. Because you're writing it down.
Yeah.
You write it down and you're being honest about your story. Yeah, sooner or later, you're going to see some things that you probably said, ooh, I want to edit my story, but I edit going forward.
I need to acknowledge it so that I can work on it, right? And you're right, Tanis, because one of the number one tools and techniques that any coach, even psychiatrist or psychotherapist give is to start journaling. Yes. That's the number one tool they say start using, because it will help you, like you said, tell your story, be honest with yourself, be transparent with yourself, so that you can really effectively deal with those things that you've not dealt with previously.
Now, I just want to another scenario that may really help people understand why it is so important that self-reflection does not mean that you're a bad person. Think about it. You ever watch a football game? What do they do after every play? They go back to a huddle. What do you think they do in a huddle? They reflect on the last play, and they begin working on the next play. They look at what went wrong, what went right. And guess what? If necessary, they take a knee.
They take a knee.
All right?
They course correct.
Yes, that's the whole part about taking that time to self-reflect. What went right, what went wrong. And it's the same thing as taking that time out. When they go, hey, time out. Oh, we need to regroup. That's self-reflection.
Yeah.
What we got here? Self-reflection requires critical thinking about historical actions and consequences. Where did they land me, and how could I improve moving forward? Yes. And again, even people who we may believe or who actually do have everything together, one of the reasons why they stay in that space is because they do the constant self-reflection.
Exactly.
The adjustment. Yeah.
Because it not only helps with your self-awareness, but it helps with your development.
Oh, absolutely.
And when you're self-aware, you're able to go back, correct those areas, shore up those areas, like you said with the replay, or you take that huddle and you talk over what just happened. You're able to improve for your next whatever play, or even professional development, whatever it might be, you're able to improve.
Yes. We talk about, I think Coach Mitchell mentioned, the word about self-compassion. And Dr. Sims just mentioned, looking at things from historical. And I want to tie those two together because our self-reflection, we want to look at who we were in the past, or I've asked you, how do you see your old self? And here's where sometimes we carry that old self into the present. Hey, maybe who you were a year ago, 5 years ago, 10, 20, whatever, maybe it wasn't the ideal person. Are you still holding that against yourself? So self-reflection means you gotta let go of the judgment.
Absolutely.
And when you're looking at the old version, you say, okay, that's who I was. What did I learn from that experience? But you don't want to bring that into who you are presently. And just, one thing, who are you looking, when you do self-reflection, how do you see yourself in the present? Because then that will possibly determine how you look at yourself in the future. All of those are important in terms of how you deal with them.
Absolutely. Because when you can let go of the shame, which is a lot of times why people don't grow, or why we don't grow, is because of past experiences, past behavior, past action. We're ashamed. And then we're afraid that we'll be judged.
Yes.
So we willfully neglect taking that path of self-reflection.
Yes.
And I think that when we mature enough and get to that space where we're not afraid to confront who we really are, not only do we grow, but it allows us to be empathetic with others. It allows us to be more compassionate because we don't have that callousness about us anymore, because we're not trying to protect something that really doesn't require protecting. No. So it brings about a whole new understanding and perception of the world around us. So,
and that's, I think, especially in the times we are experiencing, I think when we look at ourselves as part of the whole and not as something separate, everything that Coach Mitchell has said is extremely important. Learning how to get, and also how we treat ourselves is usually an indication of how we're going to treat others, if we're going to do it from a healthy perspective. Because you can sell yourself out to make yourself more accepted to others. No, we're not promoting that. This is all about having a healthy relationship with yourself, as well as having a healthy relationship with others.
So that you can have a healthy relationship with others.
So, when you're taking that time, I'm actually saying, take time, you do it on a daily basis. This is why I encourage meditation. And to, again, I'm going to sneak in the comment from Chinese who said, it most definitely takes discipline. Yes, all of this takes discipline, which is another reason why we don't do it. Why don't we take care of ourselves from a health and wellness perspective? Because it takes discipline.
Exactly.
You know what? Why Why don't we didn't like doing our homework? It it takes discipline. I've been saying for years that discipline is at the foundations, at the root of all good that's in life.
Mm-hmm.
You want to teach a young child to be respectful to elders, it requires discipline. If you tend to talk out of line, it's because you lack discipline. You don't have to shout out every thought that you have. That's why we talk now about self-mastery, which again is also rooted in self-discipline.
And that goes back to the discipline part, goes back to being able to evaluate a critical perspective, taking a critical analytical perspective, evaluating your behaviors and your actions is so important, because again, the self-reflection falls by the wayside if you're not willing to delve deeper into why you're behaving, why you're responding, why you believe what you believe, why you think the way you think. If you're not willing to peel back those layers, it's like putting up a diagram and you got your list of pros and cons. You really have to go that deep when you're trying to do a fairly good job of self-reflecting.
Yes.
Because otherwise, again, it's just fleeting thoughts. It's fleeting thoughts, and no change will ever occur. No change will ever occur. So again, it does require discipline. And I would venture to challenge people with the question of, if I don't sit and reflect in this moment, what am I going to be doing in the next moment? Am I going to waste my mental bandwidth on mindless social media or television, or preoccupy myself just to be busy, busy to be busy for ignoring
avoidance?
Avoidance. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Just for avoidance of having a conversation with myself. So I think that is part of the reflective process, is asking yourself questions. I think that why question is instrumental when we're self-reflecting.
Recent comment is from Dr. Simpson. If you truly love yourself and you want it to be the best you possible, then you will critically reflect on self. And again, if you look at, I'm again going to use football, right? They reflect constantly. Why? Because they want to become the best version of themselves. Yeah, people mess up. They reflect. They may even, get angry at times, but they know they got to nip that in the bud. Because guess what? We got to show up, and I'm going to come back to that word right there. We got to show up to continue playing. And that showing up is the love of the game and the love and desire to win. And the same thing. Do you love yourself enough to be the best version of yourself? And to be it authentically, not from your ego, where you mask, being the best version of yourself, but you never really become that.
Right.
But that point where, do you really know deep down inside, am I the best version of myself that I can possibly be in this moment in my life? Now, that may not be good enough for the next moment, but have you been showing up for yourself, up until this point? And that's why I challenge people, or you coach them, say, what are the things that you want to do? Or I'll give you a better example. At one point, I had the opportunity to teach at-risk teens, and it was a point where I became very mindful of making sure I wasn't a dream, crusher, because quite often we want to tell as adults, we want to tell younger people, well, it's not a possibility that you can do that. You need to go find a secure path. So I had teenagers in the class who said they wanted to play the NBA, or they wanted to become a rapper. So we know the odds of becoming successful in both of those professions is slim. So I just decided to take a different approach. They come to class every day. I ask them, how many lyrics did you write?
That's right.
How many hours did you practice? Now, because it's your dream, you own it. You got to be accountable. So you have to learn how to assess. Did I do what I needed to do to get to where I say I want to be?
Exactly.
Now, so that's where the accountability comes in. Now, and if you love yourself, you'll show up for yourself.
Exactly. In whatever way that means.
Yes.
In whatever way that means. So again, I think that's a great point, that if you really are trying to become better or aspiring to do X, Y, and Z, then it is apropos upon you to work at it. To work at it. And if you want to become a better person, you have to work at it.
Yes.
You have to work at it. There's no two ways around it. You can't, like you said, if you're really being authentic, your authentic self, you can't pull somebody else's profile and become them. Right? You can't pull someone else's work and claim you've written it or claim you've made it. Whatever it is, you have to do the work. You have to do the work. And I think that that's where a lot of people fall short, because they don't want to pull up the bootstraps. And for those who do, they don't know how. They don't know how. And part of knowing that you need someone else to help you, the way you get there is by self-reflecting, letting go of the shame, letting go of the ego, letting go of the pride. Again, you're peeling back those layers, because you know that there may be, or there is someone who may have already gone down this path. There is someone who has already accomplished X, Y, and Z that I can glean from. And you're willing to take that step in allowing them to help you move to your next level.
Which is connected to, again, the previous topic about, letting go of the ego. We actually, we're going through this time, this period, which, we've mentioned before, that we see all the bad, but there's also a lot of good happening. And there are a lot of people who are looking to experience something other than all of the drama and the chaos. And there are people out there who are willing to help. You make their day, believe it or not, when you ask for help. They're sitting, they're waiting. They're living, by helping you, it's like they're living their purpose.
Right.
It makes their day. So as crazy as it may sound to some people, because we have this thing about asking for help, and I won't say collectively, it's really, I'm not even sure where it comes from, our upbringing or what, but asking for help is often viewed as a weakness because we want to prove to the world, I did it myself. That is a big lie. There's no such thing as anybody who became a self-made person.
Exactly.
So there's benefits to, again, asking for help. So don't let yourself get, where you're spinning your wheels in the mud and there might be somebody right next to you within your reach that can help you put that wood stick under the back tire and allow you to, get out of that hole. Could be And the help comes in many ways.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that several years back when I wanted to go into a different position, my limiting belief held me back from moving forward until one day I went to see a senior VP and I had a candid conversation about me holding me back. And I explained to her what my thoughts were around moving up in the organization. And immediately she changed the trajectory of my thoughts from the limiting thoughts that I was having to the capability and the direction that I needed to go in. 3 months later, I had a new job. But my point is, my limiting beliefs held me back because of a belief system that I was right about a perception, which I really wasn't because I never did any research to debunk the thoughts that I was having about that particular organization and the role that I wanted to go into. So again, being able to show your weaknesses and your limitations is a part of that growth process in self-reflection, and being willing to listen to the feedback that you're going to get, as long as it's authentic and coming from a place of purity, love, or care, and not, something that's meant to, to harm you. I think that being open and receptive to that is the reason why I was able to move up. But had I shut it down because, oh, again, my emotions or my pride or my ego, then I would have been stuck in the same place, not just professionally, but mentally.
So I would like you to take away, uh, you know, what we talked about tonight, and begin looking at one, where is it that you want to be a year from now, 5 years from now, even 6 months from now, for that matter, 2 weeks from now. Whatever it is, not, once you define it, then you begin to say, well, how am I going to get there? What are the things that I need to do? What are the things I need to change? Now, where do I need help? And then part of your action plan is, I'm gonna start reaching out to, people. I'm gonna shoot so an email. I'm gonna make a phone call. I'm gonna just simply just ask.
I picked up the phone and called the president of an organization last week because I had a question and I knew that person, but not, we are not even close associates, but because I knew of that person. So having that confidence, I think, also is a part of that growth.
Yes. And I want to also kind of flip the confidence on the other side, which is also having the attitude of, I don't care. I know. Oh, I will place this phone call.
Right, and who? I mean, exactly. They're just another human being.
Yes.
They're either going to take the call or not. They're going to say yes, or they're going to say no, or they're going to say maybe.
Yes. Which actually is blended into the whole side of the where you're simply, you are aware of, what's the worst thing that can happen to me? As you just put, they ignore it. They blow me off, they ignore me, but maybe this is where the confidence is. The confidence may come into, you know who you are, which connects to a previous conversation. You know what? that person's response to me is not who I am. I'm not going to let them define me.
Exactly. I'm going to
Because I
find
want this
another way
outcome.
around.
Yes. So it's having, again, that ability to say, hey, I need help. And I don't have the ability to spend or the time or resources to spend 2 hours or 2 years.
Reinventing,
Yes.
researching, and absolutely.
Yes. Just again, acknowledging Ian's comment, asking for help conflicts innately with people's pride. You know what they say, before the fall?
Pride comes before the fall.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Ask for help. Somebody might catch you.
Help!
And all this is so important when you talk about really building communities. And building communities in so many ways is really, getting, separating yourself from our pride, from our ego, stop being afraid of being vulnerable. Because everything that you think that you're going through or you're dealing with, everybody else has pretty much done it too.
Or going through it.
As I may have said before, how many times have you been around someone's family and someone's apologizing for a person in their family? I've been telling people for years, they apologize. We all have. Every family has, those people that people may feel need to apologize. It's just part of living.
Exactly.
So don't hesitate to reach out to someone, and if you don't know that person, at least put it out there that you're looking for X, Y, and Z. And even from a perspective of manifestation, put it out there. You know what? I need X, Y, and Z. I need this to happen. Maybe somebody might say, "Oh, I can't help you, but I know somebody who can."
Exactly. Exactly.
So you want to really, you want to stay away from holding everything in, or as I remember old people saying when I was young, what do you think somebody can read your mind?
That's right. And I can't give if you don't ask.
Yes.
Or again, I can't point you, whatever that give might be, if you don't ask, if you don't open your mouth and say so. So I need 1 million tax-free dollars.
That's all.
That's my immediate need. 1 million tax-free dollars. I'm a lender, not a borrower. So if it's not by grant, donation, or free, don't send me links to loans. No, but
so as you move forward, I would probably say once you again sit down with yourself, you begin to think about what are the things that you really want, what are your true desires, and again begin to focus on the things that are going to move you there. You're going to show up for yourself. You're going to ask for help, and you're going to make a commitment to learn.
Oh, gosh, you just took the words right out of my mouth, because when you do that, you open yourself up to learning, and you're ever evolving.
Yes.
And when you evolve, those around you evolve.
Yes.
Or get left behind. Or get left behind.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's an ever learning journey.
Yes. Elevation brings about separation. You may leave some folks behind, but don't allow yourself to be stuck because you're appeasing others.
Exactly.
Afraid, that they won't survive without you.
Exactly. Well, Coach, any last minute thoughts on self-reflection before we make the announcement of what's to come?
No, I think I'm good. Just, like I said, just do it. Show up for yourself.
Absolutely.
Every day.
As I say, get up, rise up, go deeper. And that's in all aspects of your life. All aspects of your life. So we have some exciting news for some events, for some new live discussions, new topics we talk about holistically life, holistically, and we will be introducing some health and wellness sessions, and that will be happening on the first Wednesday of June.
Yeah, we call it Wellness Wednesdays, which is going to slightly differ from the health and wellness sessions that we do. We basically do them on Mondays. Mondays, Mondays is going to become what I call Magic Mondays, which means you don't know what's going to be on that Monday. We're going to have a plethora of different events. That's when we normally also do our health and wellness with nutritionists and dietitians.
That's on Mondays.
That's on Mondays.
Totally different.
Yeah, and then Tuesdays is the power of now. Wednesdays is going to become, again, our Wellness Wednesdays, where we're going to begin introducing both natural products, recommending natural products, and really encouraging everyone to kind of follow a natural, holistic approach to living. So we'll also be sharing recipes.
Yes. And recipes that not recipes that we're gleaning from somewhere else 100%, but these are I'm so tongue tied tonight. Recipes that are tried and true by yours truly. We will be, the creators of some of these recipes. Some we've pulled down off of the internet and we've tried and we've liked them. They have been beneficial to us, and we want to share that with you. And some of them will be for purchase, and some of the products that we will be presenting to you will definitely be for purchase through Field of Dreams.
Yes. So we encourage you, and on one hand, and we ask you on the other, to for your continuous support, become part of the conversation as well. And our intent overall is to become healthy, mind, body, and spirit, and to reconnect. We are, unfortunately, we're using too many and consuming too many products that really are filled with things that are not healthy. And just tap into conversation Coach Mitchell and I had, started looking at, there's all talk about mental illness. And part of that, we get into believe, is the foods that we are consuming are filled with a lot of poisons that our body is just not designed to deal with,
to process. And
Yes.
It's attaching itself in metabolic ways that we can't get rid of, our organs can't process. And I think that just being aware is having an advantage, and that advantage is having the ability to make the decision to make a change. It's no different than, we're talking about right now, the mind, we're talking about mental health in self-reflections topic tonight, but we really feel like a holistic perspective. If you're exercising, good, but we need to do something to accompany that exercise so that we become better versions of ourselves. So it's going to be, once we start to evolve, hopefully we can do some live cooking demos, because both Coach Darren and I are avid cooks. We cook, and we have started to introduce more healthier foods into our diets, and it makes a world of difference. So I think Wellness Wednesdays are going to be fun. They're going to be, filled with internal and external wellness components that I think that you will love and can benefit from. And I think we are also going to start with, I think our recipes are going to be on Freaky Fridays. we want to talk about, Freaky Fridays are basically eating the foods that you are, are sometimes intimidated by eating.
Yeah, that's it. Like I said, the other thing is to encourage people to, again, part of becoming the new version of yourself. For some people, eating healthy seems really foreign, but we want to show you how to do it in different ways, because at the end of the day, our overall health is key. And for those who are familiar with, the I Am Well platform, knows that our tagline is, one of our taglines is, the best gift you can give your loved ones is a healthier version of you. So if you love yourself, back to the comment that was posted, if you love yourself enough, then you want to love yourself enough to be a healthy version of yourself. Doesn't mean that you got to eat grass seeds and twigs for the rest of you. No, that's not it.
Nope. It's all about eating in moderation, cutting out some of the foods that are not healthy for you. I mean, cutting out some of the sugar, some of the processed foods, some of the GMOs. It's about just trying to become a better version of who you are physically, because trust me, you'll feel 1,000% better.
Yes.
1,000% better. But anyway, it's been our pleasure to be before you tonight. We want to thank each and every one of you for attending tonight's session and spending a little bit of time with us. It is, yes, Coach, I'm sorry.
You wanted to say, you can catch our recordings, practically all of our sessions, and sessions from other discussions that we have on YouTube on I Am Ready Network. So that's the YouTube channel, I Am Ready Network.
And also Guru Life Coaching on Guru Life Coaching's YouTube channel. And, I said our Fridays may be freaky, Freaky Fridays, but it may be Fun Food Fridays. So we don't want to scare anyone off.
Right.
But so anyway, it has been a pleasure. And remember, if you do not start now, there will be no next.
Absolutely.
Have an amazing night.
Good evening, everyone.